Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review post-match reaction after the 2-1 win over Servette in the first leg of the third qualifying round for the Champions League at Ibrox. Rangers started off really brightly, got ahead through a James Tavernier penalty after Todd Cantwell was upended in the box. Cyril Dessers made it 2 just before 15 minutes. Fantastic cross from Borna Barisic. It was a really bright Rangers performance up until that point. Dessers was then penalised for a handball in the penalty area just before half-time. Servette got a goal back, and that's how it ended up. A very frustrating second half. Rangers never had the same vibrancy and energy as they did in the first 45. The goalkeeper pulled off a number of top saves to deny Sam Lammers. But if truth be told, it was a bit lacklustre from Rangers in that second half, even despite Servette going down to 10 men just before the hour mark. Rangers captain, who would be absolutely delighted, I'd imagine, to emerge with just a one-goal deficit heading into the second leg next Tuesday. Joshua, you were at Ibrox and you're still there. We can hear the lawnmowers in the background, which is fantastic. What's your main takeaways from the game tonight?
Yeah, I was just actually finishing out a tweet before I wasn't ignoring you, Derek. I realised I was looking away there. I think that just to come out of Michael Beale's press conference there, first thing I guess you'd say of that, he kind of shot down suggestions that Ridvan could be leaving, said he's very happy at the club, upset that he's lost his best mate in Fashion Sakala because obviously they were quite close friends who travelled to training together. But that was kind of what came out of his press conference there. He said there was a lot of good things. I think you're right, the first 20 minutes, that second goal was a brilliant goal. We'll get on to Todd Cantwell, but I thought he was by far Rangers' best player tonight, and kind of wrote my instant reaction, which we'll link in the comment section if you can do the honours, Derek. He's just so important to this team, and I think it's almost sometimes when he's not there, it's beyond, obviously he's an attacker, so he won goals and assists, but beyond goals and assists, it's the little intangible things, the positions he picks up, his ability to speed up and slow down the game at the right moment. Again, intangibles tonight, like Rangers don't capitalise on the 10 men, but it's Cantwell just getting ahead of his marker for the penalty and for the red card. Incidentally, it was the same player for both incidents, and it's just those little things that I think have helped give Rangers an upper hand. Obviously, they weren't able to capitalise on it. In the first 20 to 30 minutes, I thought you could really see what they were trying to do, real building blocks. The difficulty was that they're just that final pass away from that being a game which, let's be honest, that should have went 3-0. Rangers should have scored more. They should have capitalised upon it more. It's probably the reality of where they are as an attacking force because, again, Cyril Dessers was speaking about it in his press conference a second ago. They're building those relationships. There's obviously the frustration in the fact that you leave the tie open. I think Servette will be the happier of the two teams after that tonight, Derek, because they survived a lot of time with 10 men. What you'd say is when they'll have to go for it next week as well, and that should give Rangers ample opportunity that they weren't able to capitalise upon tonight, but they should have. I thought, for the first 30 minutes, up until really the away side pulled the goal back, Rangers were by far the better team. Really good off the ball for that period of time. Even when players like Lammers may have missed that final touch, I thought he won the ball back repetitively. So did Cantwell. I thought the second goal was a great team move. You probably see where they are, though they're just still missing that continuity. Danilo's only trained 4 times with the team. Beale was saying Cifuentes has only trained twice. This team's still in its infancy. Rangers got the result tonight. Could have been more. Should have been more in another night.
Yeah, it looked very much like a team that still needs to gel, really. That a lot of new relationships have to be formed on the pitch. I know that Michael Beale did touch on it in his pre-match press conference, that they just need to settle down a bit. It looked a bit like that, a bit disorganised at a point, especially in that second half. Let's get to a few of the comments that are coming in. Colin Cameron says, "Evening, lads. Cantwell and Jack made a big difference tonight. Todd was my man of the match. Mine too. Still more to do to gel the new guys. Would like to have seen Hadji get more minutes. We can win over there, I'm sure." The only thing with that, Joshua, is they were missing a number of key players for the game tonight through injury and suspension. A number of them will return for that second leg. So there is a concern that one goal, it's the slenderest of margins, of course. I have back to it. It was very reminiscent, I think, of when Rangers beat Levski Sofia many years ago, 3-2. At the time, I was quite happy with that result. I remember my dad at the time saying, that's not enough. Rangers have to go over to Bulgaria. And so it proved when they scored an injury time screamer from about 45 yards or whatever, and put Rangers out of the Champions League. So there's certainly still work to do, Joshua. It's by no means over.
Yeah, well, just on your first point there about Cantwell as well, I think tonight we spoke pre-match, can him and Lammers play together? And, we spoke about Cantwell. I guess the argument's been for a couple of weeks, is his best position at number 10, and does Lammers therefore negate his most effective positions on the pitch? But you see, for the second goal, Cantwell wins the ball back in front of his back four, and then he's in between the back three, four literally right next to the centre backs, creating an overload there to start the move. And I think that was a point I was trying to make before the game. He's at his best when he's at the heart of a team performance, and he's got the freedom and the autonomy to move into lots of different positions. And alongside Lammers, he had that tonight. Raskin and Jack controlled the midfield a bit more. I must say it was a really open game. Open game between the two teams. There's so many transitions, and they had a lot of space to attack into as well. But yeah, I thought tonight was an example of why in every Rangers team sheet Todd Cantwell should have his name on it. I think he just thrives in that position where he's got freedom and he's got ability to go and make the game his own. You're absolutely right, and I think that's why the frustration on the topic of is it enough, that's why the frustration will have existed within Ibrox, because for the first 30 minutes it was a really good performance. I think there was a lot of optimism, really good atmosphere, as you'd expect. When the game goes down to 10 men, obviously they've kind of survived. They've just survived the 120 minutes with 10 men as well. They're quite a robust side off the ball, and after that kind of first half where they did throw a lot of men forward, and let's not forget, I mean, they get their penalty. It's a real, stroke of fortune. I guess Rangers is in the same way. It wasn't as if Rangers were really carved open all that much. I think they created better chances at the other end. I think the expected goals ended up something like 3 to 0.9. I could be wrong on that.
And
obviously Tavernier.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Because obviously they had their penalty as well. And only next week will show if it is enough. What you would say, though, is that they are going to have to come out. They're going to have to commit a lot of bodies forward. And you'd imagine that Rangers will pick a team and have a game plan that's designed to counteract that. They'll try and capitalise on that space as well. Maybe a slightly more defensive team. I thought that the balance tonight was better. And again, you can see clearly, I thought, what they were trying to do, especially off the ball, Derek. I thought, again, for that first 30 minutes, the intensity in the press off the ball was really impressive. Lammers I don't know if he was offside, I don't know if it would have been pulled back, but he should have scored. He obviously has that chance as well where he tests the keeper and it goes close. Rangers have a chance from a corner. I guess the one frustration, if you were to really level a criticism at the team tonight, was they didn't look dangerous enough when Servette went down to 10 men. And that's maybe where the development needs to come with the relationships with the players playing together. You obviously see Cifuentes coming off the bench tonight. But for me, they didn't look dangerous enough when they had a lot of the ball. But the question was, how are you going to break us down? And I think that's a development that they'll need to work upon continuously, and it must be said they did last season very well. I thought under Michael Beale, it's been a point lost in the debate over the last couple of days with someone like Todd Cantwell in there. I certainly think that helped because he's so intelligent in the positions he picks up, and although at times Lammers missed that final pass, again you see how two-footed he is, his ability to receive in dangerous areas, just still obviously developing those relationships with the two strikers ahead of him.
Yeah, Todd Cantwell has to be the first name in the team sheet from here on in. We'll just touch on this because there's a few comments coming in. John Moffat says, what's the latest on Harry Suter? Makes sense, his brother is here and he's a Gers fan. He has been linked.
We always asked about it in the press conference. Sorry to interrupt there, but you can watch that on the YouTube. It'll be up momentarily. He kind of just insinuated that it might be a bit of a lazy link. But you can go and watch that in full in a minute. And he was asked about that. He was asked about Ridvan Yilmaz as well. So, that'll be on the YouTube channel in a second. Yeah. You mentioned there Cifuentes. Dundee Taylor says Cifuentes must start on Saturday ahead of Jack. I was impressed when he came on, Joshua. I thought he looked tidy. His touch was good. I think he gave the ball away once. I think he could get penalised for a foul, but I won't hold that against him. I want to see more of this boy. He looks the business. Yeah, he does. And again, if you look at midfield, I don't know if Cifuentes, Raskin and Cantwell will be the midfield going forward. We need to see if it's got the right balance, but a really exciting player to come off the bench. He won the ball back on a good couple of occasions. Again, he's only trained twice, so similarly with a lot of these players, whether it be Dessers or Danilo, who've had disrupted pre-seasons, it's just a reality. I guess it's probably going to take a few weeks to see the best version. But what Rangers didn't do at the weekend was win while we were getting up to speed. And tonight they have got that result, and I thought they looked a lot more cohesive as a team. I thought some of the football they actually played in patches there was really, really good. And although it's so frustrating when that final pass lacks, or for the kind of final 20 minutes there's too many crosses going into the box or whatever, but there was moments in the first half where it did look really cohesive and put together, and you can see the quality of some of the players that have been signed. Obviously Dessers gets his first goal as well. I thought he looked sharper. And that type of goal, that just poacher's goal at the back post, where you've got Danilo running across the front, you've got Dessers at the back post, you've got 4 players attacking the box. That's what Rangers need. How irregular have those types of goals been, where it's just a poacher in the right place at the right time, on the end of a good move, on the end of an excellent cross, but it's just people who are going to sniff out and get goals, and that's obviously a step in the right direction for him tonight.
Yeah, lots of differing outlooks on the game tonight. It's all about opinions, of course. That's why we loved it. The beautiful game. William says, I thought we played well at times tonight. Although Ian Thompson doesn't think so. We were poor tonight, guys. This is going to be a tough season. Certainly,
that's a bit harsh. I think you could definitely level that Rangers were wasteful, and Michael Beale said that. But I thought a lot of their play back to front was pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's clear. I think it's going to take a bit of time. There's a lot of new players into that team. But as we know, you don't normally get much time at Rangers. So I'm hoping that they come out firing against Livingston at the weekend. Let's get to a few more of the comments that are coming in. A lot of comments on Serial Dessers. Ross says, Cholak was better than Dessers there. I've said it. And he's not alone. There is a few comments coming in. Luke says, how is Dessers better than Cholak? Kent is better than Sima, but unfortunately didn't want to stay. I've seen that leveled at him. I think Serial Dessers, I think he said in his press conference, Joshua, he's not yet 100% match fit, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt at the moment. I want to see him when he's fit and firing. I wanted Antonio Cholak to stay. I think he would have done a job for Rangers this season. But I think there came an understanding between the club and the player that he wanted more game time than what Michael Beale would have promised him. But listen, I think it's going to take a bit of time for Serial Dessers. Likewise, Danilo tonight, who, I mean, a few things didn't come off for him, but you can tell there's a player there.
Yeah, it's the first time they started together. I mean, Dessers is a totally different player to Cholak. Cholak, for what he did for Rangers, I think domestically worked really well, but it's a totally different style of football. You need to be able to contribute in different ways, and I just think it suits a player like Dessers more. Now, Dessers maybe hasn't shown that yet, but Beale has spent a lot of money on him comparatively, not world football standings, for a reason, not least because of what he gives you off the ball, which Cholak didn't have that, not through any lack of trying or effort, but I just think he wasn't that type of player. And again, it's so, you're right, if we're having this conversation in December, Derek, and things aren't coming off, then maybe have a different type of conversation about it, but we're about 2 games in. Thought there was a lot of promising signs tonight, a lot of lacking in product at points, and that game really, when it was 2-0 and Servette were continually throwing bodies forward, you just thought they need to capitalise on this at some point.
Yeah,
because
they should have put the tie beyond out, I think, tonight.
The tie should have gone.
That's where the frustration lies.
Yeah, and then it's a totally different conversation, and your Sam Lammers VAR or not, a few inches away from putting the ball on the right side of the post, and the conversation would have been completely different. So I guess you're trying to look a bit at what is the outcome and what were the good bits and bad bits of that performance overall. Rangers didn't concede too much. I agree that in the last 20-30 minutes it faded. I think they were wasteful. By no means do I think that the performance of Dessers and Danilo showed exactly why they've been bought, but you'd hope that after a few games they started to be sharper, they started to have played more together, and Dessers' press conference, which you'll be able to see in the YouTube channel as well, spoke a bit about that as well. The challenge for them continually, Derek, is going to be, while they're still getting up to speed, while they're still learning one another as teammates, you need to keep winning, and that goes to Switzerland next week, because make no mistake, if Rangers were to go to Switzerland next week and not get through, this game will be looked back upon as a huge missed opportunity. They need to go and finish the job next week.
Yeah, Yeah, it doesn't bear thinking about at this moment in time. A Day in the Life says, Big John at the back had a great game, lads. I think he's spot on there.
I thought he had a couple of moments where he looked a wee bit iffy, but that's going to happen when you're defending kind of man for man throughout the game as well, which they were. But his run for the goal was brilliant, wasn't it? It was absolutely brilliant.
Let's see more of that. Would be good. Yeah, big fan of that. And Barry Smith looking for a shout out to Amber. His daughter missed the game today after breaking her foot. Ruth Mark too. Hopefully she's not out as long as Kima Ruth was out last season, Barry. But yeah, Amber, thank you for tuning in to the show. And Tam Brown, just on the 10 men, I think when Servette went down to 10 men, I was thinking to myself, oh no, this is where they'll be galvanised and they'll manage to get a result, and it proved to be the case. He says it's a myth to think you automatically leather a team that goes a man down. It usually makes it more difficult as they don't commit players forward. Absolutely. And that proved to be the case this evening. Rangers frustrated tonight in that second half. So it's all to play for over in Geneva next Tuesday night. We'll be back again tomorrow, folks, for a proper look back at the game. Lots to talk about, so many different aspects of it to delve deeper into, so we'll do that tomorrow morning. But thanks to everyone for coming on the show this evening. It's greatly appreciated. I'll let Joshua head off home, but thank you very much for joining us, Joshua, and we'll be back and speak to you again tomorrow. Bye for now.